In today's video, I'm going to show you how to sound like Chris Lorenzo. So in this video, we're going to look at the main compartments that make up a drop that sounds like Chris Lorenzo. So we're going to go through the drums, then the bass, and then any effects on top of the bass. So let's start with the drums. The drums are actually really simple. Chris Lorenzo basically just uses a kick drum, a clap, and then after 8 bars, he'll bring in a hat or a cymbal. So if we go and look into these drums here, I've got a kick drum. So what I've done is pitched this kick drum down to get it sounding as deep as possible. And then I've EQ'd out the high end. Made sure it's completely in mono here with the stereo separation. And then again, I've just tidied up the EQ. So you want to get your kick sounding as low as possible and hefty. That oomph in the kick. And then what I've got here is the clap. And this is 4 different claps layered to create this sound. So it's like a nice and fluffy clap. So if we go through each one. And notice how all the outs of these have been lined up with each other. And it's like a nice fluffy clap that complements the kick. So you ready? Nothing too aggressive, but nothing too light either. Now if we look at the post-processing of the clap, all I've done is put them all in a channel, in separate channels, and then sent them to a clap group channel. And I've got a Saturn on here with a little spice added, decapitator, and then I've got some EQ and some camel crusher. So without the, and I put it in mono here. And you can just experiment with various clap samples and kick samples, or you can download my sample pack. There's a link in the description to my website, which has these exact samples in. And then what we have further down is the hi-hats, which come in after the 8th bar, and they sound like this. So this is basically just a big open hi-hat, and I've just literally found this in a sample pack, and if we compare this to Chris Lorenzo, it sounds pretty similar. So that is pretty much the drums. You just need a really high quality kick, really high quality clap, and a really high quality hi-hat, and you can get away with creating an absolute banger just with those 3 things. Now let's move on to the bass. So this bass sound is from my recent Serum preset pack, available on my website, and I've just slightly tweaked it. So if you want to copy it, here are the settings. I've basically got basic shapes here, and then basic shapes here, and then this LFO has been created, and then I've placed that on the sub, the wavetable position, the level, the bend, the cutoff, etc. And then I've got this FM coming from B at 75%. And then in the FX tab, I've got distortion. And then I've got an EQ, where the LFO is being sent again. And then I've got a delay and a compressor. And it sounds like that. And then if we go to the post-processing section, you can see I've got an OTT on, a Fab Filter Saturn 2, on this setting, and then I've just tweaked it slightly. A Decimort 2 on action movie setting. And then we've got here our sidechain. And then we've got a sub. Which is very basic. Just literally a sub with the LFO being sent to it. And then we've got, oh, quite a drastic EQ there. An OTT, a FabFilter Saturn. And then more EQ. Some questionable EQ. And a Pro L. And more sidechain. If you want to know how to do the sidechain, it's best to check out my sidechain video on my channel. And then now to the interesting part, the note placement to get it sounding as bouncy as it is. Notice, if I open this, let's go to one, so if we go to here and to 1/3, you can see that I've started the notes 1, 2, 3 points. So this is a third here, like this, if you have 3 in a row, and I've started it just after. And it just gives it a bit of bounce, so you can experiment with this. But if I put it right at the start, doesn't sound as good, whereas if it starts there, and I've repeated this process in this section here, as you can see, and in this section here, as you can see there. And each one is following the size, so like that, there you go. So it's worth experimenting. A lot of producers are finding this out recently and making their tunes extra bouncy. That's what I did for my tune in my recent EP, the Body Gal tune on Crewcast. So that is an essential tip. Try it out, see what you can do, see how bouncy you can get it sounding. And then yeah, I've pretty much just repeated that 3 times and then created another pattern here where I've switched the melody at the end here. Repeats itself. And obviously you can add variation once the hi-hat's gone here. Minor variation. And that's pretty much everything to do with the bass. Let's move on to the effects. Right, so for the effects, there's a few different things you can go with here. So one thing I've noticed on a lot of Chris Lorenzo tunes is he likes to use breaths like this. So you can either find some samples or make some yourself, and then you can add a breath like this. So that's one effect he does. And then I've got another, I've just had a play around here and added some other effects. So here we've got a bubbly sound. So let's try this. Hear that little bubble before the drop, sounds pretty cool. And then we've got like a siren sound here. And the bubble repeats itself. And it's just adding little things like that that spice up the track for you. Hopefully from this you've got an idea of how Chris Lorenzo makes his tunes. Let's hear the final product. Hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy.